Keepin On looks at the journey of aging through the power of music. Hello, I'm Van Owens Hayes, host of the podcast Keepin On, which is brought to you by Walker West Music Academy, where they harness the power of music to foster academic achievement, success, healing, and joy. What helps you keep on doing what you do? Is it music? Music can comfort, heal, inspire, and uplift. It can make you want to sing, dance, tap your foot, create, and learn. Music can help you keep on, keeping on. We are privileged to have musicians Marveleen and William Duncan share their reflections on the journey of aging and the power and inspiration of music. Welcome, Marveleen and William. And I want to ask each of you, what is the first song you remember?
That I played or, okay.
Whatever you want.
The very first song that I remember playing was Kinder Concerto. I was 7 years old, and it was my second recital, and my teacher thought that I could play this, and it was 18 pages long, and I had to memorize it.
Oh, my goodness.
And I played with her top student, and her name was Marie Locke. And I was just so excited because I got to play with one of the big girls. And I also, she had, when we played, the recital, we had two times. The afternoon for the younger students, and then the evening for her older students. And because I was playing this concerto, I got to play at both of them. And I remember my mother making me a taffeta dress. I remember black patent leather shoes. I remember sitting down at the keyboard, getting myself ready, and it was the most exciting thing. But the biggest thing was playing this with Marie, because I was so impressed with her. She was my idol. That's all I can say. She was my idol.
Well, you've told us what makes it memorable. What about you, William?
Well, I go back a few years when I lived in Montreal for about 3 years. This was during my adolescence. My first big piece that I remember playing was I studied with a guy. He was a Canadian black man. His name was Trevor Payne. And the first piece that I remember getting was Eric Satie's Trois Genopodes. And that was a very intricate piece, even though it did not have that many notes, but the piece in it of itself was very intricate because it had jazz overtones, even though it was written by a French impressionistic composer. But it had this measure of tranquility, that I liked about it. Is, and it would be something that you would hear on the you think it was it was part of the classical field, but you thought it was more of jazz because of the way it was written and so forth. That was my biggest piece, that stretched out with a lot of chords. And the other piece that struck me that I knew that I could play, and he didn't take any mess because he found out that I had what they call perfect pitch. Mm-hmm. and when he found that out, he said, "Oh, you one of them?" I said, "Okay, I'm in trouble." So the other big piece that I learned was Clementi Sonatina, number one. So once I learned that was good. And then when I came back to the States, I just, came and studied some other pieces, but those were my two biggest pieces of influence. One was, as I said, the Clementi Sonatina #1, and Eric Satie's Trois Jeunapodes. Mind you, it was a French name, and it was why I had to study French for 3 years while I was in Canada, but it carried over.
I don't speak French, but it sounded very French to me. Looking back, what is your favorite song?
What is my favorite song up to date?
Well, you can go back in time. You can name more than one if you'd like for different times in your life.
I've been going back way back since before I moved here. Oh boy, there's so many. There's so many. Oh,
now, you're originally from Detroit.
I'm originally from Detroit.
So that's a lot of music to pick from. If
Yes.
I think of Motown and all that.
I'm originally from Detroit, so, and with a few experiences of the 3 years in Canada when I was younger. So I guess my favorite song up to date now is in gospel is a song by Tremaine Hawkins, "A Wonderful Change." In the other genre, since I am partially a Motown fan, I could look back and in hearing "Reach Out, I'll Be There." That's one of them. There's two versions of the Four Tops version, and then there was a slower version that Diana Ross made. So I guess those are my favorite songs.
How about you, Marveleen? What's your favorite song, looking back?
That I played or that sang? Played?
Well, one of each.
Okay. I would say Grieg's Concerto and
For singing or playing?
playing.
Okay.
Grieg's Concerto and Rhapsody in Blue, only because when I played that, I played with 5 other pianos. And then what I sang was, and it always stayed with me, when I was little, I sang for a little tiny top wedding, and I sang, "Oh, Promise Me." And my mother taught me that. My mother and my aunt both sang, and I used to play that for them. And also, "The Lord is My Light and My Salvation," and I would play for them, and they would sing a duet.
Oh, my goodness.
And one other song that I really love, because I taught that to my junior choir in Chicago, and the song was "The Lady of Shalott." It was a cantata.
For those who aren't as musically gifted as you two, what is a cantata?
Well, it's a story. "The Lady of Shalott" is a poem, and it's been set to music. And that's what happens. The cantata would be part of it.
Both of you sing and play an instrument.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd like you to share with us what feeling you experience when you sing and when you play.
When I'm singing, I like to convey a message. It makes me feel really good. My family was, in a sense, we were introduced to music very early. My mother and my father both sang, even though they weren't musicians, but they sang in college and they passed it on to us. I was blessed to have to be around. There are 5 siblings in our family, and 6 siblings. Let me rephrase that. In our family, 5 of them were girls, and 3 of them unfortunately passed on. But my influence of singers would be my own sister Debbie Duncan. But when I sing to someone, it's like me conveying a message. And a lot of the times the message is what can I do to make you feel good, what can I say that would make that would put you in a better place? When I sing, I guess one of my favorite songs that I like singing is "The Greatest Love of All."
I like that too.
Yeah, because that conveys a strong message, not just to. It's a universal message, basically, because it's not just singing to the young, but it's also singing to us that are older. The greatest love is happening inside of me. Because if you love yourself, you won't have any problem loving anybody else. That's what makes me happy. And I grew up in the 60s and the 70s, so that has a big influence. When I happen to be minister of music of choir now here, but also when in one more modern songs now, the song that makes me feel well is it says, "I love you, Jesus. I worship and adore you." And so I sing that. And so the more up-to-date songs now, and I like the contemporary, but there's something about the older up-to-date songs that have substance, and one of them is it says, "Lord, I love you more than anything," and that speaks directly directly internally to me.
I want to come back to that music of substance feeling. But before I ask you that question, Marveleen, I'm going to have you answer how you feel about singing and playing.
Since I do sing in a choir, my biggest inspiration and the songs that I like the most are like the big anthems. One of my favorite ones is "Hallelujah" from the Mount of Olives. That just moves me. I remember when my mother passed away, I had our choral group sing that, and the one thing that I regret was that I should have gotten up out of my seat and gone up there and sang with them because it was so magnificent. That and music from Mendelssohn's Elijah, music from The Seven Last Words.
Now, is it playing or singing?
Both.
Both. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Both. I mean, I just, in fact, I'm sitting here now and I get goosebumps when I think about them because that's what, I get so moved. And I think that it's almost like me having church. Like sometimes you're not able to go to church we're in the pandemic now. But when you hear music like that, and it's like, you don't necessarily have to hear a sermon because that's a sermon within itself.
Well, the listening audience isn't in the room with us, but if you were here, you'd see two people smiling as they talk about the joy of singing and the feeling that they get playing an instrument or singing. And I know, William, I've seen some of your concerts where you seem to have a theme of love in many of them. But I want to come back to the substance of music, the message of music. Mm-hmm. It seems as though as we get older, the message seems to be so important. And I'm wondering what you're thinking of the music, that the substance of it. What is it? What does it do for you? What messages appeal?
Great question. The message that appeals to me is, as stated, love. That the music in it of itself can transcend farther than what we hear in political office. It's a healing method for me. because I believe music was ordained by God, as a reference to to show love. There's power in music, and for me, I just there's as our other guest eloquently stated, there's a couple of anthems. I grew up on anthems too, and my favorite anthem is "Lift Up Your Heads, O Ye Gates." That's one of mine. But I also grew. I said in the gospel era, one of my favorite influencers that really brought me up into that field. There were three of them that really inspired me to sing about love. One was a person by the name of Donald Vales, who had his choir in Detroit. The other one was Mattie Moss Clark, the mother of the Clark sisters. Of the Clark sisters, and I had a chance to work at their school at one time prior to coming here. But there's one song that really inspires me, that I try to portray that message, is a song called "Praying Spirit." The message that I try and get across to the young people, period, is that in this time of this pandemic, in this time of whatever controversy is, you can make it.
Listening to the two of you tell your stories, I think of looking back myself at special songs. I think when I invited you to join us, one of the songs I thought about was "In the Still of the Night." It used to play at all the parties that we went to, and whenever I hear that old song, I think of my youth. And then when I think of some of the songs, "How I Got Over," even as a child, "Jesus Loves Me," makes me think of my first introduction to faith songs and just being part of a group. So if we look back on our lives and come forward, what music charts your path to today? Now, I know, Marveleen, you said a lot of classical music, but I know you sing other music, and I know you listen to other music. So of that whole range of things, what kind of things can you pick?
I would say that, one of my favorite, I guess he's band leaders was, or piano players, was George Shearing. And there was one particular piece that I heard, and I loved it, and I still can't find that arrangement. Polka Dots and Moonbeams, and the way it was arranged and the way it was played, it just, that influenced me, because when I heard it, I was out of town, and I was at a music conference with the Chicago Music Association, and with these young people, and they had all of this music, and they were playing, and we were at a party. And that was one of the things that struck me. But I also like Nat King Cole. Oh my goodness, they're just so many. Johnny Mathis. I remember moments when you're hearing them, or you're out someplace, and you're with a particular person. I saw Nancy Wilson at a club in Chicago, first time I ever saw her, and I was so impressed when she sang "Guess Who I Saw Today." So that's some of the music that I really like.
Okay, what about you, William?
Repeat the question again.
Well, as you look back on your life, and there's some music that charts your journey to today that says, oh, that's what I was doing when I was in college or I was in high school or when I was traveling or got married or whatever. So what songs would you choose?
Oh, that's a rough question because it's so much in this question. No, there are so many songs and so many genres, and there's a couple of songs when I was getting ready to graduate from high school, and one song in particular, because this girl, even though she didn't even know it, she sounded a lot like Phyllis Hyman. All right. And there was one song particularly that always brings me back to that time where she sings "You Know How to Love Me." I believe that's the song.
Phyllis Hyman brings back memories. I saw her and she was amazing.
Yeah. I happened. I heard. My mind just went blank, but particularly there's so many songs. There's one. There's when I was in junior high. Roberta Flack was one of mine, and particularly this one song. It always, when I see music in colors. So there's one particular song that Roberta Flack, when she first came out with it, the song "Feel Like Making Love," which was one of my, that
was what they call a standard.
Yeah, that was one of the songs that I loved. That was a traveling song for me. I'd hear that, and it would have to be a perfect sunny day. I have with a few cumulus clouds. So I called it. I said, "Okay, this is my E flat. This is my E flat major day." Because it was written in that key. And when I see E flat, I see shades of white and with roses red and black. So that made me. That gives me a feeling of warm, wants to dance and or skip down the street, and one more that I can really think of. It's kind of weird, but one of my favorite persons that was a keyboard player that I like hearing. I was just listening to him this morning. Was Donny Hathaway. Was Donny Hathaway, and he was playing a song called the Ghetto. But that which also influenced me, people like Donny Hathaway and Billy Preston, which I've done a couple of shows doing Billy Preston, and another one of my favorite songs for Billy Preston was "Out of Space" with him playing the clarinet. That always makes me want to dance.
You said something about learning a lot from your sister. She influenced you. You and Debbie performed together sometimes. What was that experience? Because she was certainly really talented as well.
It wasn't until recently that I started performing, with Debbie, because she was here and she moved out, and I was still in Detroit. And she had a chance to travel, and I traveled various places. But it wasn't until we met up here in Minneapolis, and working with Debbie. There's always the family sibling sound. But working with Debbie is because she really gets into it, and I was influenced by her, and she'll tell you, I was influenced by you. I said, really? Yeah, but the last couple of times that Debbie and I have worked together was actually when I was preparing a Billy Preston show, and she sang background with me, and she put that together. And we also did something here of the series where we put together a song. We rearranged a Nancy Wilson song, "How Glad I Am," and that's those creative moments that we can come in and do something together that's just totally out the box. I know that's bad grammar, but it's just but that was totally out. That we just came up one day with it, and I said, we gonna go with this. And we did that, and then we did it at the Dakota with my group and a guy named Robert Robinson. So
absolutely.
So we did that and just took it to another level. That's my take.
Well, you two have just the greatest memories in terms of music, and you're still performing and singing and playing, and I don't know, you might even be writing music.
I still do that too.
You are writing music. So if music helps you keep on keeping on, what do you want to share with others about how important music is?
I think music feeds your soul. I know it feeds mine. And I think it takes you to a very nice place, a comfortable, warm place. Because when all that's going on around us seems to be, chaotic, you can go to your music and you can seek a quiet moment, or you can seek a joyful moment. I mean, that's what gives me solace.
I mean, music is life. To sum it up in one word for me, music is life. It's hard to do anything and not hear music. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's virtually impossible. I said this one time. I said, "Well, what happens if there's no rhythm or music life?" I said, "Well, think of the old. It was an old concerto. It was a piano. Like it's dee 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 dee. So.
Yes.
Johnny, one note.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both, because music seems to get us through tough times. It helps us keep it on. And it also charts the journey of life when you look back and you have those special memories. Marveleen, when you said your first recital and how special that made you feel. And I know there's other moments in life, marriages, funerals, proms, special occasions, where the music just says it all. So I want to thank you two for sharing your stories with us. I know there's more you could say because you two have rich contributions to music. But I do appreciate you joining us today, and I hope our listeners enjoy you as well. Thank you. Thank you to today's guest and to you, our listening audience, for joining us today. As Plato says, music gives a soul to the universe, wings to the mind, flight to the imagination, and life to everything. Until next time, keep keeping on. Keepin On looks at the journey of aging through the power of music. Hello, I'm Van Owens Hayes, host of the podcast Keepin On, which is brought to you by Walker West Music Academy, where they harness the power of music to foster academic achievement, success, healing, and joy. What helps you keep on doing what you do? Is it music? Music can comfort, heal, inspire, and uplift. It can make you want to sing, dance, tap your foot, create, and learn. Music can help you keep on, keeping on. We are privileged to have musicians Marveleen Atlas and William Duncan share their reflections on the journey of aging and the power and inspiration of music. Welcome, Marveleen and William. And I want to ask each of you, what is the first song you remember?
That I played or... Okay.
Whatever you want.
The very first song that I remember playing was Kinder Concerto. I was 7 years old, and it was my second recital, and my teacher thought that I could play this, and it was 18 pages long, and I had to memorize it.
Oh, my goodness.
And I played with her top student, and her name was Marie Locke. And I was just so excited because I got to play with one of the big girls. And I also, she had, when we played, the recital, we had two times. The afternoon for the younger students, and then the evening for her older students. And because I was playing this concerto, I got to play at both of them. And I remember